Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Bob Walters. This is Locked Up Sports special coverage of the Tucker sweepstakes between the Mets and the Blue Jays. Sorry I'm late, everybody. I had the charging issue with my phone and whatnot. But everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to what we got here. There's a lot going on in New York sports, even though there's really not a lot going on, right? You got the Mets and the Kyle Tucker thing. You got the Giants and their coaching, whether they're going after Harbaugh or whether he's going to get signed with them. He had the interview today. You have basically just the Knicks playing well. And other than that, it's all just off the field stuff. And the Kyle Tucker thing is really big. Now, the latest on Kyle Tucker is I see some people saying Blue Jays are the favorite. I see some people saying the Mets are the favorite. Listen, they're both two different types of offers. The Mets have put up a 3-year. Reports are that they've added a 4th year for around $50 million a year. There'll be some opt-outs and all types of incentives, whatnot. That's a good deal because he's 28 years old. He'll be 29, I believe. I think he turns 29 in just a couple days. He'll be 29 when the season starts. He gets a 3-year deal from the Mets. He gets 4-year deal from the Mets, so gets around $200 million, and then he'd be 32. And looking at what Alonso got, I mean, yeah, there was only one team involved in that, but he could go for another deal. But he'd be betting on himself a little bit because he would have to show some performance and show some still life in his bat and everything in that 4th year. But I think it's that could be a good deal. That's a very good deal. I like the way the Mets are coming about this too. I like the short-term deals. You don't want to go long-term with this stuff. Listen, and everybody online, anybody I talk to in those Mets groups and stuff. Listen, you're all asking me, you don't want Alonso. What about the Soto deal? Listen, Soto's different. Soto is going to be a walk-in Hall of Famer, a generational player. I know some of you don't like him, but just look at the numbers. He's the best player on the Mets, okay? And he's by far the best player in the Mets. And he had an all-time year. One of the best years in Mets that anybody in a Mets uniform ever put up was last year. So you can make exceptions for it. Listen, the back end of the Soto deal is going to be terrible. It is. But if for a player like that, that's special like that can play like this, that is a walk-in Hall of Famer, or if you think he's going to be a walk-in Hall of Famer, like most people do, you make the exception and you deal with maybe 4 or 5 years of declining ability if he can bring you 1 or 2 titles along the way in the first decade of the deal. That's what you do. Okay, and that's why generally I am not in favor of these long contracts. I always said I felt like they should pay the back end of the contracts. They should just, pay them up front in the first 5 years of these big contracts, a whole bunch of the money, and then lower the AAV as it gets lower so you could trade him if possible and stuff like that. But, that's just not going to happen. I suppose it's not going to happen for whatever reason. But someone like Soto, you do make that exception. So just because Soto signed this deal, Soto's the exception to the rule. I think the Mets are doing a good thing with the 3 years. Listen, the players clearly don't like it. They're not going to like it because they want those long-term deals. And as far as Alonso goes, listen, they offered he got one deal for 5 years. So he took it. Good for him. Good for Alonso. I love Alonso. And the Mets squeezed every bit of talent out of Alonso that they could. And they got rid of him. Maybe, listen, Alonso's going to be good for the next 2 years. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be good. He's going to hit home runs. Bunch of home runs, but then he's going to probably fall off a cliff. And that's just saying what happens with most people at Alonso's age in their mid-30s. It just happens. We all get old, right? But as far as Kyle Tucker goes, so the Mets offered the 3-year deal. Reports are for the Blue Jays. Now, listen, there's leaks coming out somewhere. I'm guessing it's Tucker's agent leaking it, but he's not leaking the Toronto deal. Nobody, not Jeff Passan, nobody has how much how long of a contract the Blue Jays have offered. We have that, okay, it's a longer deal. My guess is it's probably 6 to 7 years. Okay, Tucker was asking for 8. You'd be crazy. I think you don't give him 8. Listen, you'd be crazy to give him 8 because now you're looking at a 37 year-old player, and you're still paying him upwards of probably 35, 40 million is what I would imagine the Blue Jays have gone to. So 7 years, 40 million, or you could go with the Mets at 4 years. Let's say it's 4 years. Let's say they offered him a 4-year deal. 4 years at 50 million. So you could guarantee yourself 200 million, and then you could, on top of that, go for another contract. Like if he takes the Blue Jays deal, it's at 6-7 years. That's it. This is his last deal. Now, this is going to be his last big deal anyway. But this is it. This is his last deal that he will get. And, it's interesting. It's very interesting. And now they went from a couple hours ago saying any minute, the Mets are awaiting decision any minute. They think it could happen tonight to, okay, now he's going to wait it out till tomorrow. And listen, if I was him, I would wait it out as long as I could. Right? I would say, listen, this is the decision of my life. I am going to wait it out as long as I can. And another thing about, as far as the people who say, I don't want to give him 50 million. I don't want to give this guy. Why are they paying this so much money? Why do the Mets have to overpay? Why do you care is my question to you. There's no salary cap, right? So it doesn't affect the team if the Mets give him 200 million a year. It really doesn't. Our owner has more money that he could spend in 5 lifetimes. He could sign 100 Kyle Tuckers and still be a billionaire 10 times over. So I don't see why you care. The prices at the stadium, I got news for you. The Mets could have a $5 million team payroll. Prices aren't going down a dime. Not a single dime. So why do you care about the money? It's not your money. He's got more money than anything. That's why we loved Steve Cohen coming onto this and being our owner, is because we could overpay and we could buy out deals that don't work. Stuff like that. Like, look at with Cano, how much money he paid. He paid Cano to go away. I think he's still paying him. But either way, listen, welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for watching. I see we got a bunch of people in here. You could scan the Q. You got something to say? I know a lot of you have something to say to me about this deal, about the Alonso deal, about what the Mets are doing. You could scan that QR code. You hit open, and you'll be put basically right on the show as a caller, and you could argue with me or tell me how dumb I am, or tell me that you agree with me, or whatever you want to tell me. I'm here for it all. But still no word. People now on the internet are joking. I was just refreshing the Twitter, and it was like, Kyle Tucker signs with Blue Jays for $900 million over 11 years or whatever. So now it's gotten to the joking point. But as far as passing and the rest of them, nothing doing. The last I heard was from Mike Puma. I have it here on the right of the screen. Mike Puma reported that the Mets are now saying they don't expect a decision until tomorrow. I guess, is it today yet? No, 4 minutes will be today. Until tomorrow, which, like I said, I don't mind. I don't blame him for sitting there and thinking this over again. Because do you want to go to Toronto? Do you want the exchange rate and the money's different? New York, the taxes are high. There's a lot to weigh on something like this when you're making a decision like this. Now, I think it's very, very important for the Mets to get him. They got to get him. Because they've done, I don't agree with it. I agree with him with Stearns for getting rid of, breaking up the core. I have no problem with it. I think Nimmo is, he was a good player, right? Nimmo was nothing great. I think a lot of you guys overrate Nimmo. I think because you like him, which is fine. Same thing with Pete. You like Nimmo. He's a good guy, child of God. He was a solid player, but he was just outside of New York, nobody was scared of Brandon Nimmo. I got news for you. He was an average player who's now aging. He's below average. He's a bit of a liability on the defensive end. So they traded him. Nothing big. McNeil, forget about McNeil. There's a reason why they got a 17-year-old kid for McNeil. It's basically a bag of balls. That kid maybe sees the major leagues. Maybe he doesn't. Probably doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he does in the Mets uniform. Who knows? But I see where you guys are coming from with a lot of the issues that what he's done. He hasn't done enough. And I kind of agree with that. As far as the bullpen goes, listen, bullpens are very finicky. Nobody has a good bullpen. I got news for you. Maybe the Dodgers, but let's put the Dodgers aside for all this stuff. Nobody has a good bullpen, right? It's such a year-to-year thing. There are guys who were terrible last year who will be fantastic this year. Nobody has a good bullpen unless, and I've always said, I even put this just somebody's discussion before. If your name's not Mariano Rivera, I don't trust you out of the bullpen. End the story. And I'm a Yankee hater. I don't like the Mets. But if your name's not Mariano Rivera, I don't trust you at all. Because everybody else is just hit or miss. And if these guys were good enough, they'd be starting pitchers. That's how I look at it. They'd be a starting pitcher, and you wouldn't, they're in the bullpen instead. And they go from hot to cold to hot to cold. They blow games. Everybody blows games. Nobody's got a good bullpen out there. So, and I think the bullpen is something that you could fix in season 2 as well. And listen, Stearns ran into some bad luck last year, because I guarantee if I polled every one of you the day after the trade deadline, you all would have been happy with what he did. I was happy with what he did. Thought we good. We solidified the bullpen, right? They came in, they stunk. They had histories of being fantastic. We got a closer from the Cardinals. He stunk. Terrible. And there's nothing that explained that prior to him coming to the Mets. So, it is what it is. But like I said, if you guys want to call in, if you have something, opinion, what you think, where do you think Tucker's going to go? Is he going to go to the Mets? Is he going to go to the... It's very interesting, because the Blue Jays deal is a good deal. It solidifies him for probably, I'm saying, 6 years. You have it. You have your money. 6 years. You set up. You have a good team. Defending American League champions. They won the pennant. I mean, that could have won the World Series. Probably should have won the World Series. But you have that in your back pocket. But with the Mets, there's the possibility to make even more money, because you do your 3 years, you perform 3 or 4 years, because there's an opt-out, multiple opt-outs somewhere in there. You do that, and then you perform in your 3rd or 4th year, and then you go out and you get a ton of money for another 2 or 3 years. So it's more ability to make more money with the Mets, but you are gambling a little bit. And listen, for those of you who don't think or don't know much about Kyle Tucker, he is a hell of a player. All right? I know the big thing is we didn't replace Alonso's output. First of all, they have replaced Alonso's output. Okay? If you put all the people together that we got, because Nimmo wasn't hitting a bunch of home. Nimmo hit 25 home runs. Simeon that we got hit 40 home runs just a couple of years ago. Yeah, he's been on the decline since, but he had 40 home runs. Nimmo's never touched close to 40 home runs. Nimmo's never even hit 100 RBIs. So, let's, stop with the Nimmo stuff. But, listen, it's interesting. And I think the Mets have a good shot at getting them. They're both good teams. The Blue Jays, listen, the American League East is probably I can't believe the Blue Jays are doing this. They're playing with the big boys now. When you're coming in with the Mets and Steve Cohen and the Dodgers, who now will look like might be fading a bit out of this thing, which, I mean, God, good. How do the Dodgers really do we need a super team? I get it. We need a team to hate. This is this generation's Yankees. But do we need a super team? They're like the dream team. I don't think anybody's beating them now. But, it's they won't get Tucker. I don't think he's going back there. I don't think that's the deal. But I do think the Mets have a good shot here, and I think they have to get him. I don't know if I would go to 5, because that's what might have key. His agent's coming back to the Mets and going, well, the Blue Jays got us. We got 6 from the Blue Jays at $45 million or $40 million. Can you do 5? We want to go to the Mets, but we want 5. I don't know if I would do 5. I might. I wouldn't be devastated if they did 5. I wouldn't be like, oh, we're going to have a disaster with Tucker down the road. But I do think that if they had to go 5 years, maybe they have to, because they haven't really done much, right? Because we got a comment here. Let's see. I don't know if you could see this passenger said on. You see, 10 years, I wouldn't give him 10 years. If they're willing to give him 10 years, who does? I'll tell you who he wants more. That's a very simple question to answer. He wants whoever's going to give more money. These guys are not loyal. They're not fans of the team. A lot of them were not really fans of baseball growing up like we were. I think he's going to go to whoever gives him the most money. It's either going to be the most money or the most years. Now, if they're going 10 years, and then that's going to be more money than the Mets are going to give him, because just over 10 years, it's going to be more than $200 million. You're looking at like a 350, 400, something like that. And at that rate and that amount of years, you don't want Kyle Tucker. He's not worth that, because now you're looking at a 39-year-old Kyle Tucker who's just probably a complete shell of himself. And then you're looking at maybe a 37 or 36. It depends. Everybody goes south at a different time, right? Some people get bad at 30, 32. Some people start to go decline at 35. He might decline a little bit later than somebody like Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, listen, I love Pete Alonso, but he's a pure power hitter. His bat speed's going to go a little bit. He's going to not hit as many home runs. He's going to have more strikeouts. He's not a solid, really good fielder to begin with. I would just say I wouldn't give, but still, 10 years? Not a chance. Not a chance. 10 years, you're looking at almost a 40-year-old player that you're going to be giving 35, 40 million to. That's the thing with the Alonso deal. People think I don't like Alonso. I love Alonso. And we got the best out of Alonso, right? We got the best of years that anybody's going to ever see with Alonso. And they got rid of him. Yeah, they might have got rid of him a year or two early. But it's so much better than sitting here watching Alonso in a Mets uniform just go down the tubes. Because no matter what you say, he hasn't been hurt, right? You get that a lot. He hasn't been hurt. Why do you think he's going to decline? We all decline. None of us could do anything the same way at 35, 36-year-olds that we could at 28. Just what it is. Alonso's not going to be the guy who changes everything. But as far as if they go 10 years, what are you going to do? Let them take him. And I think if that happens, I do think that the Mets could be in trouble. Let me just bring this up here. Hold on one second. I don't think I have it. But either way, they're not gonna. The Mets won't go 10 years. Stearns won't go 10 years. Stearns won't even go 4 or 5 years with guys. He's not going anywhere near 10 years. Let's bring up here. We got some more questions or comments, whatever it may be. Stearns has to be a better negotiator. You don't know what kind of negotiator he is, right? Like, who knows? He told him, so he didn't negotiate with any of these guys. Like, what are you going to say? They offer him 10 years at $40 million a year. How could you negotiate with that? They're clearly overpaying, and they would be overpaying because they think they could win a World Series this year, right? They were that close from winning the World Series as they played the plate, that close. So now they think, and it's the same thing with the Mets with Soto. I'm okay with the Soto deal because you think you're going to get 1 or 2 championships that he's going to lead you to in the first 10 years. So then it's okay, right? We could all live with it. We would all take 4 bad years forget about 2 championships, just 1 at this point, just 1. So I'm not saying he's a great negotiator, but I don't think I don't know if he's a bad negotiator. I think he just likes to be reasonable. Like, he's not a fan. He has no emotional attachment to somebody like Alonso. He has no emotional attachment to Nimmo. He looks at the numbers. He looks at how they are as a player, how he thinks they're going to be, and he makes a decision. He's not like a Mets fan. And you're glad he's not a Mets fan. I'm telling you that the last 2 or 3 years of that contract is not going to be great. But Baltimore is another team that thinks they're right there. They think they could be the Blue Jays of last year. Baltimore's sitting there going, you know what? We could go in, get into the playoffs. We could win a couple rounds, and we could, end up in a game 6 or 7, and then something happens. The ball bounces the right way, and we beat the Dodgers. You never know. All right, what else we got here? John Harbaugh to the Giants. It's not done yet, is it? No. He's got a couple more interviews, but I agree. Listen, John Harbaugh's got to go to the Giants. I'd almost rather let Tomlin, but he's taking the year off. But yeah, John Harbaugh, the Giants got to get somebody reasonable in here because this is just absurd. These 3-win seasons, and I can't believe that Joe Shane is still here. But that's for another show. Check us out, everybody. If you haven't checked out our show, we're Locked Up Sports. It's usually me and my co-host Brett. We're both working the prison system. I work at Rikers Island in New York City. I'm a correctional officer, 10 years on the job. He works in the Riverhead out on Long Island, and he works he's the head nurse out at Riverhead, and we have good shows. I actually spoke today with Bob Usler, WFAN. You all know Bob Uecker, Mr. Met. Nicest guy in the world, by the way. But he knew a lot. He told me that he's coming on the show again. He's been on the show a million times. He's coming on next month. But he told me that he thinks the Mets are doing the right thing. He knew Alonso was gone as soon as Stern said, I would run prevention and all this. He knew he was going to be gone. He knew it wasn't going to be anything, like we were going to go 5 years, because the Mets didn't want Alonso last year. I'll tell you that much I know. Mets didn't want Alonso last year because you could tell they didn't want him, because they didn't sign him right away. It was an owner decision. It was Cohen saying, hey, come on, we're going down to Florida. We're going to go get Alonso. And this year, he had to do it last year. Why? Because they're coming off of that run. They're coming off of Alonso hitting that iconic. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, you know what? You're right. Good job, Justin. I'm seeing it right now in SportsCenter. Giants and John Harbaugh finalizing deal. All right. Well, that's the first thing the Giants have done right since Coughlin and Eli left. He left the building today. He left the building without a contract. I figured he was going to do more interviews. All right. Adam Schefter has it. Giants and John Harbaugh finalizing deal. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's as good as it gets right there. That's some good news, finally. I don't think we're going to get a Tucker update tonight where he's going to sign the deal or whatever. But, hey, thank you, Justin, for the update there. Here's Brett right here. Brett, are you at work? I heard Justin Tucker picked the team already, but that's the co-host, everybody, of the show. Brett, I figured you were at work. That's why I didn't call you to come on. If you want to call in, Brett, hit the QR code. But listen, as far as Tucker goes, I think it's important that the Mets get him, because if they don't get him, and I've been sitting here, backing Stearns for the last God knows how many months with a bunch of you who are on now in these Mets groups and everything, and I'm getting slaughtered with it. And the thing that I've said, and I've said it to Brett a couple times, I said because with Alonso is the big thing. My stance, I can't be justified for another 2 years. I straight up think Alonso's going to have a big year, and I think he might have a good year next year. But eventually he will get old, and unfortunately, like the rest of us will. I can't, play and track down balls like I used to out in center field. I can't do that no more. But anyway, so John Harbaugh to the Giants, love it. They still won't win next year, though. So who else we got here? What else do we got? Stearns says, oh, no, we already saw you. Stearns has to be the better negotiator. And we got Brett. Okay, so that's everybody right now. Hey, listen, guys, if you got something to say, you want to comment on anything going on, just hit the QR code, hit open, and it will connect you right here to me, right here in my living room, as we cross over midnight, 12:10, 12:11 now, Thursday morning, and Kyle Tucker still has not made a decision. Now, as far as the pitching goes with the Mets, because the other thing that people are harping on is that the Mets need starting pitching, right? They need a starting pitcher. They need an ace, a top of the end, a top of the rotation kind of guy, and I agree with that. I think they have their ace, is what I think. I think McLean is clearly the ace. He was clearly an ace last year when he came in, and I know it was only a couple starts, but the way he looked, it was just, that's something that's going to carry over. He might not be as dominant, but he's going to be dominant, and it's going to be I think he's going to have a big year. So let's say we have our ace, right? I still think they do need a pitcher. I think they missed the boat on some things. I think that McLean is good, and the rest of the staff is kind of, they could be really good, right? We all saw Senga. When Senga's healthy and he's throwing good, he's unhittable. He's a 6-7 inning guy, but he gets hurt. And by the way, he was hurt. Pete Alonso was the fault of that. No. But he gets hurt, and he never really lasts the full season so far in the couple years that we've seen him. But he's iffy, right? The rest of them are all iffy. And the bullpen, I think the bullpen is better. I think the bullpen is better. Our closer now, yeah, okay, he's not Edwin Diaz. But how do we know if Edwin Diaz is going to be as good as he's been the last year or two? He probably will be. But you don't know that. This guy was the best closer 2 years ago in the league from in Milwaukee. We thought Pete Alonso ruined him when he hit the home run because he came into the Yankees and he sucked. And then they picked up a couple guys in the bullpen. I think the bullpen is almost better than it was. Like I said, the bullpen, I wouldn't worry too much about the bullpen in the offseason because it's something you can fix in season. Put guys there. You could put Sproat in the bullpen to be a long guy. You could put Tong in the bullpen if you have to. You have these guys come, these kids down in the minors coming up that could come up and give you a couple innings. You know, I was asking Jesse Orozco at the Queens baseball convention if he could give us a couple innings on the back end, but it turns out Jesse Orozco's in pretty bad shape. So he had trouble answering the question, let alone going out there and actually pitching. But so the Mets, they're waiting. They're still waiting. I wonder how many years do you guys think the deal is for Tucker that the Blue Jays are? You think it's 7? Think it's 6? I'm saying it's going to be 6. Hey, listen, I know people are saying 10, but it's not. I can't see the Blue Jays giving him 10 years. I can't see anybody giving him 10 years. I was surprised. Like I said, he's not. He's a good player. He's a superstar. He's a 5-tool player. Okay, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's smart on the base path, so he gets 30 plus stolen bases every year. You could put him down. You take it to the bank that he's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to hit 90 to 110 RBIs. He's a top end player in every part of his game. He's got a good arm. He's good defensively. He's won Silver Sluggers. He's won Golden Gloves. I mean, he's better than, and again, people come back to the Alonso. Oh, he's not Alonso. He's better than Alonso. Okay, so let's just clear that up right now. And that's something that I'm not just me saying. Everybody, go talk to anybody that covers a team or who really knows baseball. He's a better player. That's not the knock on Alonso. Alonso's a pure power hitter. That's all he does. He hits a lot of home runs, and that's great. You need that. But say he's a better player than this guy who's won Golden Gloves, Silver Sluggers. The only thing Alonso's ever won is meaningless home run derbies. So let's get that out of the way. But Tucker would be a big addition to this lineup. I think he'd be hitting probably third. I have the projected lineup here. Hold on. Let me put it up. Oh, no, there we go. So now people sitting there saying 60, 70 wins. The Mets don't spend. First of all, they're going to have one of the top 5 payrolls in all baseball when it's all said and done. They're just Lindor leading off, Soto behind him, then Tucker, then Vientos is what I saw here. Listen, Vientos, that could very easily become Bellinger, right? Or something like that. Yeah, Vientos, we forget too, because we want to throw Vientos in the trash because, he's terrible. But that could have been just a sophomore slump. We've seen Vientos do it in pressure situations, in big playoff games. We've seen Vientos come up big. When the Mets made their run, Vientos was one of the key cogs in that lineup. He got big hits. He made big plays in the field. He was one of our best players down the stretch, along with Lindor. But he was one of our best players down the stretch. He made a ton of big hits. He hit big home runs in the postseason. Vientos can do it before. Don't throw away Vientos yet. And I was guilty of that last year. I was like, you know what? Vientos sucks. He sucks. And Alvarez too. Alvarez had a better year last year than Vientos. I mean, Vientos, that was a nightmare last year. He was hurt for a while. He just couldn't hit. I think he might have got a little too. I think he might have been a little too good in his rookie year, right? He might have been one of those guys. Oh, this is easy. This is easy. Look at it. I'm killing it in the playoffs. First year, killing it. Home runs, big hits, getting us in the playoffs, big plays in the field. I think he might have took it for granted a little bit. And then last year, probably kicked him in the ass and knocked him back down to earth. It's probably what happened. That's and now I'm guessing he probably put it, and I don't know this, but I'm guessing he probably put in pretty good offseason worth of work because he got it handed to him last year. He was no good. People were talking about trading him for almost nothing. I think you hold on to Vientos for another year because you see what it could be. And that rookie year that he played was one of the better ones you've seen in a long time. As a rookie, to come in New York in the postseason in big spots and get big home runs, that doesn't happen just out of nowhere. So Vientos, I think you give another year, you give him a chance here. And then you got, let's see, the rest of the lineup would be Polanco at first base. Listen, Polanco's not going to play a ton of first base. I know they said that. And again, it's just bad messaging by the Mets because they had to know they were going to get slaughtered when they say that. You're like, well, Polanco's going to be our first baseman, and then immediately just bum rushed with, oh, he's not Alonso. Polanco sucks. He's this that. Listen, he's not going to play. He's not going to play all the games at first base. You're going to have Vientos at first base sometimes. You're going to have. I know we have him as a DH here in this lineup, but so then after that, you got Francisco Alvarez, and Francisco Alvarez is another one. He wasn't as good last year. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was the first year. I don't think that's the Francisco Alvarez that the Mets are that you're going to see throughout his career. But I also don't think it's going to be what last year was either. And he came on. Don't forget about those big home runs he hit in Chicago, right on the comeback in the last week or two of the season. That was a huge home run for the Mets. Now it ended up not meaning much because they fell apart towards the end and couldn't beat the Marlins. But Francisco Alvarez is another one. We've seen how good he can be. And he was good in the playoffs too. So you got those two guys. You got to forget. You guys forget about a lot of these guys that we have on the team. Brett Beatty. I'm not a big Brett Beatty fan, but he had a decent year last year, and he played a decent third base. So we could live with Brett Beatty, and then you got Simeon at second base. Who, listen, he's at least as good an offensive player as McNeil has been, right? At least. Because McNeil had that, he was a one-hit wonder. McNeil went in, won the batting title, and then was like, all right, we're just going to go play golf and surf the rest of my career. And he sucked ever since. It's just been a nosedive for McNeil. And they traded him for basically a bag of balls. And they still had to give $6 million to the A's. I mean, that's because the A's have no money, but still. So, and I think he'll be happy out there. I think he'll be a little bit better because I think McNeil will be happy out there in with the A's, wherever they're playing, wherever whatever college they happen to be playing at, that they can only fill up a quarter of the stadium. But listen, the Mets have a high payroll. They are spending money. That's the thing. The Mets are spending money. They have plenty of money. Soto's $50 million. Let's say they get Tucker, $50 million. They gave, they're gonna have to re-up these pitchers too soon. You don't want to let these pitchers get to free agency like McLean and Sproat and the rest of the Tong, because what you do is what they did with DeGrom. A year now they have these guys for hundreds of thousands of dollars for a couple months, right? So it's really not that they have them locked up. They're theirs. They drafted them. They're on league minimums. What you do is you go in there and you give them a $2 million raise. I mean, McLean's a $30 million pitcher. If he's anywhere near what he was last year, he's making I don't know what he's making, but I guarantee it's probably not even $1 million. So you go in there, you give him a couple $1 million, make him happy. So when he comes back, when he does get to free agency, and you delay the free agency a couple years too, because you give him a couple years past his. When he does ever become a free agent, he's like, you know what? These guys hooked me up. They gave me some money when I didn't really have much money. And I think that's the issue that they had with Diaz. I think they went in with Diaz and they were like, all right, so this guy's going to be around a $63 million deal. Let's give him 66. So they offered him 66 and they're like, there's some room here for improvement. We could go a little higher. And he was probably like, why the hell didn't you go higher anyway? What I've done for this team, what I've done for you, I've been the best closer in baseball. I've been your best closer in history. And you can't offer me another $80 million? You can't offer me $80 million instead of just $2 or $3 million over what the Dodgers are. He said, screw you guys. Screw it. I'm going to, because it's not like the Dodgers, it takes a lot to get the Dodgers. The Dodgers sell themselves. No, and here's Nikolai. Those pitchers not seeing free agency in the next 6 years. I get it. But you know what? You throw them a bone, throw them a couple million. Right? Give McLean $5 million. Not this year. Maybe at the end of this year, you extend them for another, 5 years, $10 million a year. He's a $30 million pitcher. You're not getting anybody near McLean. If you even get somebody like McLean, you're not getting him for anything less than $30 million. Let's see. Here we go. What do we got here? You're way ahead of time, buddy. What is that? I don't know what that means. They were being cheap with Diaz. No, I agree. You know what? I agree. They were being cheap with Diaz. I 100% agree with. And I think that's an issue. They were being cheap with Diaz. They thought they could get him with just, $3 million more. There were $3 million. And then They probably said, go in there, offer him 66, tell him there's room for there's wiggle room with that. No. He's your guy. I agree with you. Nikolai. You got to go in there and say, listen, here's $85 million. Because what's the difference? Steve Cohen can't spend all this money in his life in 5 lifetimes. He doesn't care. He's 70-something years old. He's got $30 billion or whatever it is. He wants to have a winner. That's why when I hear people say, oh, we're overpaying this guy, who cares? Is it your money? Do you care if Steve Cohen saves a little bit of money? Who cares? There's no salary cap. So it's not going to hamper him from spending money. He's got more money than anybody could possibly ever dream of. He's opening up a casino, and he's opening up a casino, so the money's just going to keep rolling in. Those things print money. Unless you're Donald Trump, you're going to make money off of a casino. I mean, come on. Who cares if he gives? I don't care if he gives Kyle Tucker $100 million. Now, I wouldn't give him $100 million. I think it's too much. But who cares if he does it? He does it. Prices aren't going down. The Mets going to have a $5 million payroll next year for the whole team. Parking will still be $35, $40. Beers will still be $17. Hot dogs will still be $8 or $9. And they'll throw you a bone on like a Tuesday night every once in a while and give you a couple dollar, hot dogs. So we'll see. But as far as the money goes, and you're right, they were cheap with Diaz. You're 100% right that they were cheap with Diaz. Let's see. And all right, here's one right here. Here we go. Rock and roll, Gecko. Listen, they weren't stupid with Alonso. That's the thing that I'm saying is they were smart with Alonso. Alonso, the last 3 years of that deal is not going to be good. And that's not a knock on Alonso. Nobody's good. Nobody's as good at 33 and 34 as they were at 28 and 29. That's it. You were signing up for 2 good years and 3 years of Alonso running on fumes. And if you thought, and listen, I think the Orioles thought they could win the World Series this year or next year. That's the only explanation that you could deliver to that to justify that thing, that signing. I better not see Tyrone Taylor for us. Listen, I like Tyrone Taylor. I played center field, but I like Tyrone Taylor. He is as good a defensive center fielder as there is in the game. Now, you're right. Listen, he can't hit the water if he jumps out of a boat. But Tyrone Taylor, he's a vacuum out there. He's as good a center fielder. That's why I'm saying if you have 2 big corner outfielders, like they will have if Tucker signs this deal, if you have Tucker and Soto, you can live with Tyrone Taylor, hitting 210. Because of the fact that you have 2 excellent top-of-the-line players in corner outfield positions. That's another knock against Nimmo. Listen, you can't be a team that expects to contend and be really, taken seriously with someone like Brandon Nimmo as your corner outfielder. Okay, he's never hit more than 25 home runs. He's never driven in 100 RBIs. That's not corner outfielder stuff. Not for a team that wants to contend. And that's why another reason why Kyle Tucker would be so important. And as far as when you say with Pete, listen, Pete, the Mets have a DH now in a couple years. Soto's going to move to DH, and he's going to be a DH, the rest of the way. So Alonso, what you did with Alonso, and they were smart with Alonso. This is the best you've ever seen of Alonso. Alonso's not going to he might stay the same for another year, possibly 2. He might get 30, 40 home runs. You might. But then you're sitting there 3 years with Alonso striking out a million times. Alonso maybe getting hurt a little more often. Alonso only hitting 15, 20 home runs. And go look anybody. You can't tell me, and I put this up in a couple of the chats. I said, you can't tell me a guy that was just as good at 35, 36 as he was at 29 and 30. And they did come up, you guys came up with a couple names that were just as good. Not better, but just as good. But the names were like, they were like historical great players, walk-in first ballot, all-time greats. So, yeah, there are exceptions to that rule. Very few and far between. Like the greats. Every once in a while, you get 1 or 2 that are just as good. And then you can name anybody from and then half of the other names that I got were steroid guys. So, and, that, and we're coming out of the steroid era, right? That was the last era before this one. So we all sat there and watched guys at 35 and 36 hitting 40, 50 home runs. Brady Anderson out of nowhere hitting 50 home runs. We all watched it. So I don't blame you guys for saying that because it's fresh in your memory. But it doesn't happen without steroids. Just doesn't. We all get old. We all slow down a bit. We all don't do things as fast and as good as we used to when we were 28. And that's the age. From 29 to like 35 or 36. And with power hitters more than regular players, it declines faster because the bat speed goes down. It just is what it is. And I get it. You love Pete Alonso. I love Pete Alonso. He's not a Hall of Famer either. He's not going to hit 500 home runs. And Soto's probably going to knock his record off with the home runs with the Mets in another 3 years. 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. So, listen, I said there are some. But, like, it's so few and far between. There are so many more that just dropped off. That's what I don't see what the deal is. Let's see. We got some more comments here. News on Tucker will be tomorrow. I think it'll be tomorrow. I do. I think it'll be tomorrow. I think he wanted to sleep on it. I don't blame him for that. This is the biggest decision he's going to have to make, money-wise in his life. Because this is it. This is his real big deal. Because if he takes the Mets deal, he has a chance at another good deal. It's not going to be the $200 million that he would get from the Mets here. There's going to be opt-outs in that too as well, which they always take. Soto's going to take his opt-out, in another couple of years. They take if they play decently, they'll take the opt-out. But as far as Pete goes, listen, Mets were perfect timing with Pete. You got to see the best of Pete Alonso will ever be. We got the best 7 or 8 years of Pete Alonso, period. Now you don't got to watch him get old in the Mets uniform, right? You don't want to remember Pete Alonso as somebody who coming back and keeps you have to kick him off the team. Because there were guys like that. There were great players like that. Willie Mays was like that for the Mets. You don't want to see that. We got rid of Alonso. Did we get rid of him a year or two early? Probably. But it's better than getting rid of him a year or two late. Because you don't want to watch these guys just decline. I'm telling you, it puts a sour taste in a sour memory of what you think of them if you're going to sit there and watch Alonso struggle for 2 or 3 years at the end of his career. He'll come back. He'll sign that one-day contract for the Mets, and that'll be that. Let's see. You don't treat homegrown hero players like that. Sorry, you just don't. You're right. Unless you want to win. Because I'm not going to sit here. You don't pay players for what they did. And you're right. You don't want to treat them like that. But it's business. He understands that. He's home. Well, what's what? Because he's homegrown, we're going to stick you in the middle of the lineup and watch you strike out 150 times at 35 years old and hit 15 home runs? When I could have a legitimate bat in that spot in the lineup? No, that's not how you win. That's the problem right here. Rock and roll Gecko, that's the problem right there. Are you going to put him in and give him the deal no matter what? You give him 5-6 years? He's going to be 36 years old by the time he's done with that deal. He's not hitting 30 home runs at 36 years old. Very, very, very few people have ever done that. That's an old man in baseball. That's an old man. No way would I have given him 5 years. And there's a reason why, if you look around, right? Who offered him 5 years? The Orioles. One team. And I'm telling you, the Orioles think they're on the tipping point of being like the Blue Jays and really being a contender. They have a lot of good young players. They got Rutschman. They got a million good players. And they just sucked last year. They suck every year. They will probably suck still. Because it's just, like the Mets. It's the Blue Jays. But you can't give Alonso. There's a reason why 29 of the 30 teams said, no, not a chance. There's a reason why the Mets didn't offer him anything. Because they knew they couldn't offer him anything near what the Orioles gave him. They were like, if they're giving you what? 5 years? Listen, thank you. Thank you for everything. Go take it. We're not giving you 5 years. No one else is giving you 5 years. Go take it. We wish you the best. And now he'll come back. He'll sign a 1 day contract with the Mets. He'll be at Old Timers Days whenever they have it. Sporadically Old Timers Days and sporadic midwinter, whatever that thing is that they had last year. They call it. But we're not giving you that. And a smart GM who doesn't have emotion invested, and you have emotion invested in it. I'm guessing Pete you're a fan of Pete. You're a big Mets fan. Stearns isn't a Mets fan, and I'm glad he's not, because there's no emotion in it. You don't want Stearns to be like, oh, you know what? He's homegrown. We want to see him hit 500 home runs in a Mets uniform. First of all, I don't think he's getting 500. Second of all, even if he does, when these guys hit their 500th home run, 90% of them, of the small few that have hit 500 home runs, they're usually not very good. They're not very good anymore when they hit their 500th home run. So you don't want to sit there and see that. You don't want to see Pete declining and getting old and striking out. Listen, the Mets got rid of him 2 years early. I get it. He's going to have a good year this year. And you're going to sit there and you're going to be yelling at me about, see, I told you, 40 home runs. I get it. It's not about this year. It's not about next year. It's about the other 3 years. If Pete would have said, I'll give you 2 years, will you offer me something for 2 years? I'd take it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. But he didn't, and I don't blame him. He got 5 years. Good for Pete. Good for him. That's what we should be saying. Good for Pete Alonso. You don't want to deal with that. I'm telling you don't. Schwarber is older. Schwarber's a more prolific power hitter, I think, than Alonso. Yeah, he's around. They're kind of like in the same area. But Schwarber just hit, what did he hit, 50 home runs this year? Well, last year, Like Schwarber, you're right. But again, what did they give Schwarber? They gave Schwarber 5 years, I think. I wouldn't have given Schwarber that deal if I was the Phillies. I'm glad they did because, it's the Phillies. But I certainly wouldn't have given him that deal. I don't know if you guys would. You can't go into this thing with emotions. You can't. And down the line, you end up being, when you see them start to fall off, you're like, man, you know what? I'm glad I didn't have to watch that. I don't want to see Pete Alonso as just an old man, not really hitting, because it's going to happen. Listen, it's going to happen. I don't care who you are. Nobody beats time. So it's going to happen without a doubt. Here we go. Here's another one. Rock and roll. I appreciate you getting in on this, rock and roll gecko. About loyalty. Hold on. Nope. Not. I think we got two comments here. There's one. What do we say? Nope, not all. I'm a baseball fan and Pete earned the right. No. You don't earn the right to get paid for stuff when you're not going to produce. I completely 100% disagree with that. There is no loyalty. There's no loyalty in any business. I got news for you. There's no loyalty anywhere in any business. Just not. And successful companies don't have loyalty because you don't pay someone for what they've done. We already paid you for that. We pay you for what you're going to do. And when you start paying players for what they've done in the past, you start losing. You think Alonso's going to be worth 40 million, 38 million at 34 years old? Come on. So you want to that's fine. You want to give him the money and let him strike out so you can give him standing ovations. That's for Old Timers Day, buddy. That's for Old Timers Day. Not for when you want to be winning, you want to be competitive, you want to be in pennant races, you want to win championships, which is what we all want. And what we all thought we getting with Cohen. Can't be playing, keep loyalty. There is no loyalty. Because if you can't produce for me next year, I don't want you on the team. And it's not personal, it's business. Pete knows that. That's why you tell him, hey, listen, go to Baltimore. They're giving you 40 million for 5 years. Go. We're not giving you that. You're not worth that. You were worth that last year. You were worth that the 5 years previous to that. You might be worth it next year and the following year. But those other 3 years, you are not going to be worth 40 million. And if someone's willing to give it to you, good for you. Again, why do you think there was one team? There's 30 teams out there. Look how many teams were going after Tucker here. There was like 10 teams going after him, but he's narrowed it down to 3, and then now it looks like it's the Jays or the Mets. But there was nobody going after Alonso. Nobody's giving Alonso 5 years to pay him $40 million at 34, 35 years old. because you're locked in there. Listen, you want to give me a team option after 2? Fine. We'll cut you after 2. But I'm not the loyalty. I'm not doing that loyalty thing because that's not how you win. That's not how you win. It's a business where they only get a finite amount of time making money. And that's why I don't blame Pete for taking it. You can't. And if you blame Pete for taking it, that's wrong. Of course he took it. Of course he did. He didn't leave the Mets because he's like, oh, screw the Mets. I hate you guys. No, he left the Mets because somebody was handing them a boatload of money that nobody else would give him. Of course he went there. Of course. Good for Pete. Look at these contracts. Ryan Clifford, let's see. Yeah, Ryan Clifford can hit 250 in the minors and commits twice as many errors as Alonso. Ryan Clifford, come on. Ryan Clifford's no good anymore. Pete's not a good defender. Pete's a pure power hitter. He's a pure power hitter. He hits home runs, and that's what he does. He's not a good defender. Okay, is he reasonably okay? Yeah, he's okay. Some balls get down the line past him and stuff, but he's not, and he's got much better with his picks in the dirt. But you can't sell me Pete's defense as any part of this because he's not good. He's below average. He's a pure power hitter. It's a ton of home runs for you. Great. He was great for the Mets. I love Pete Alonso, but I want to win. I'm sick of losing as a Mets fan. I'm sick of it. I was only 5 years old in 86. So I've sat through a lot of these bad years, and we all have. I'm sick of losing. If you want to stop losing, you can't be sentimental with these guys. You got to let it go. Pete Alonso was a great Met. And he will always be a great Met, right? But if you can't produce for me, and listen, I know there are a guy, you can throw me a couple names, but there are a lot of, they are not, it's few and far between. You're playing the odds here. The odds are always going to get old. He's going to get older in 2 years. That's the odds. Because 99% of them get old at 32, 33 years old. And you still got 2 years left. And I'm sick of losing. And if we have Pete Alonso on this team, he's not helping the team in 3 years. And Soto's going to be a DH, so he can't even DH. So, no. There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty in any business. Someone comes along that's cheaper, better, whatever, they're going to get rid of you. I would not. No way would I do that. And I don't think Stearns, that's why I'm glad Stearns is not a Mets fan. Because I know why you're doing it. I get why you're doing it. But you can't win like that. You can't win by being loyal. You don't want to. I get it. He's always a Met, and he will always be a Met. If he somehow gets to 500 home runs, he's going in as a Met. Even if he doesn't, he's going to come back and sign a one-day. He's a Met always. That's just how it is. It's over. It's over for Pete. So let's see what else we got here. Let's see. You have great hair for 44. It's all real too. It's all I got though. All I got is great hair. My hair grows. That's what I'm still happy about. Still grows. Starting to get a little gray, but it still grows. Let's see. You have the wrong approach. Sorry, you do. You like the idea of moving Pete, but he did what he did to get paid. Look at the names on that lineup. Can you say the names for all these guys? Those guys. Can you say this? Listen, yeah, listen. Name me a player. Name me anybody. Do you know anybody that took less money? There are people who give hometown discounts, right? There are play. Oh, this guy, he gave him a hometown discount. They usually, before they hit free agency, or there's no other deals on the table, or it's reported that the Yankees offered him this, or it's reported that the Dodgers or the Braves offered. I've never seen a guy who said, I'm not taking this deal at $75 million over 3 years. Instead, I'm going with this team for $62 million over the same amount of time. It's not that. It doesn't happen. First of all, the union will get all over you if you do that, because that just affects everybody else. They don't want that. But it doesn't happen. Pete Alonso's not a Mets fan. Like, that's what you don't get. Like, listen, he loves the Mets. He's grateful for everything the Mets did. They gave him the millions of dollars that they did. Mets paid him already. He got millions of dollars, a millionaire because of the Mets. You can't be paying him for now these 3 years where he's going to suck. And I hate to even say it like that, but he's a shell of himself. For what? Because he was good for all those other years? We paid him for those years already. You've been paid. And the Mets lineup, look at this lineup. Look at this lineup. First of all, here, rock and roll, Gecko. Francisco Lindor. I know for some reason everybody hates him now, right? Why? Because his wife is with Mandami, whatever. I'm not getting into that. Don't get me started on that. Francisco Lindor, 2 years ago, carried this team to the playoffs. Almost single-handedly. He was as good as can be. He hit the grand slam against the Phillies. He carried this team to the playoffs into that run. The team was supposed to do nothing that year. Nothing. Supposed to be a bridge year. Francisco Lindor carried that team to the playoffs. We're talking MVP, singing My Girl. He hit big home runs. He was so good. Then after him, you got Juan Soto, who's possibly one of the best players of his generation, going to be in Cooperstown, going to hold every probably offensive Mets record there is by the time he's done. Then if Kyle Tucker signs, you got the best free agent on the market this year, ranked number 1. That's the top of your lineup. Now that top of the Mets lineup last year was just fine. That was the problem, is they were top heavy. Then you got Vientos. Okay, Vientos is okay. We don't know what we're going to get with Vientos. You might get some of that first year. You might get some of last year. Not terrible, but just okay. Then you got Polanco. Again, light hitter, decent defense. But Polanco, which many people don't mention either, is if you watch the postseason last year, he got a ton of big-time hits, walk-off hits, big hits in late innings. And we were all probably saying, when we were watching Polanco, man, you know what? Wish the Mets had a guy like that was clutch like that. We got a bunch of guys with meaningless home runs, right? Because that's what everybody likes to say. I wish we had a guy who got the hit in the big spot. Well, there he is. And he's a Met now. Jorge Polanco. He got the hit in like the 14th or 15th inning in the ALCS game that went that far. He got multiple big hits down the stretch for Seattle. He won 2 games with walk-off hits in the ALCS. He's on the Mets now. Then you got Francisco Alvarez. And again, kind of like a Vientos thing, but I think better. And a solid, like an okay catcher. A above average bat. By no means is he Mike Piazza. But he's also not Mackie Sasser back there. So, an okay. Then you got Brett Beatty. Again, Brett Beatty has a high ceiling. We don't know about him yet. It's time for him to put up or shut up. It's time for Vientos and Alvarez to put up and shut up. Then you got Marcus Semien. Has hit a bunch of home runs in his career. Not a great bat. Gold glove at second base. The middle infield for the Mets on the defense is as good as it gets anywhere in baseball. And then down in the bottom of the order, you got Carson Bench. Supposedly supposed to be, as good as it gets. But we don't know. Listen, we as Mets fans, we all know we've heard these guys, we've heard our minor leaguers be talked up year after year after year, and we know what they come and do. So that's the lineup is not a bad lineup. Everybody's big thing is how they're going to fill Pete's role. Listen, they're not going to fill Pete's role. They're not going to get 40 home runs out of first base. There's nothing you can do about that. But you got better defense. You have a really good top of the lineup. I still think it's a little top heavy. But this is not a 70-win team. How many people? I've heard a million times people say, oh, they're going to win 70 games. Going to win 70 games? You know how bad 70-game teams are? Pirates are 70 games. Pirates are probably more than the A's are 70 games. The Mets, with this lineup, with 2 Hall of Famers in the lineup, with decent guys all over it, McNeil became an automatic out. Vientos was an automatic out as well for part of the season, and Alvarez was too. But I have faith in them. And they're kids. They're still very young. The third year. It's time to put up. But, to think this... Yeah, I agree. I agree, Nicola. I think if they get Tucker in this lineup, it's probably a better lineup. And it's as good a team as last year. Now you want to be better. Look at it right here in the bottom of the screen, 83 and 70. Still finished in second place, and they should have. Listen, they bolted out to that amazing start. It was kind of a false flag though. The bullpen wasn't that good, and they were doing it with smoke and mirrors with the bullpen because people were hurt. But whatever. I think this team is absolutely a playoff team. They're not rebuilding, and I get it. You get upset that we liked Nimmo. Nimmo's a good guy. We love Nimmo. Good Met. Yeah, he was a good Met. But Nimmo's not like some kind of superstar. Nimmo was an average player. Alonso, big-time home run hitter. He's a big bat leaving the lineup. I get it. It hurts. But you can make it up in other ways. You don't have to make it all up with home runs. You don't have to. You can make it up with better defense. You can make it up with, producing runs. The Mets couldn't hit with runners in scoring position for a good chunk of last year. You need to be able to hit with runners in scoring. You got to get those hits with two out and a runner on second and third. Got to get those hits, otherwise you're not going to win games. They could have won the division if Hero Stearns didn't sit on his hands. He didn't sit on his hands. That's a false statement. He went out, and I guarantee, if I asked you the day after the trade deadline, or I go to your page and I look to the days after the trade deadline, you were happy. Just like the rest of us were. Why? Because he fixed the bullpen. You think he knew that they were all going to come in and suck? Of course not. They did. It is what it is. I told you, bullpens are finicky. You don't know what you're getting from bullpens. You don't know what you're getting from any of these guys in the bullpen. They might be great next year. They could have the same bullpen as they had last year. They might be the top 5 bullpen in baseball. Yeah, I mean, that's how, listen, Nikolai, right, Nikolai? Bullpen pitches are, it's just, like I said, if you're not Mariano Rivera, I don't know what you get. It's a roll of the dice. Roll of the dice. No idea. But you got to, and the bullpen something too. Listen, we were all happy when that trade deadline passed. I was like, now we can make a run. Now we can win the division, straighten this thing out. You got all the best, but everybody in baseball, all over TV was talking about these are the best guys for bullpen help. Mets got almost all of them. And what happened? Right on their face. Couldn't get anybody out. Home runs left and right. That's a bullpen for you. Really is. You have no idea. And that's the wild card on almost any team. So, it's crazy. Let's see. Tucker's coming to Toronto. Yeah, you know what? He might be. Oh, man, we got a Toronto guy in here. Man, you guys really blew that World Series. That was. Let me tell you, that was the greatest, probably one of the greatest sporting things that I've ever seen. There's a couple on that list, but just as far as the pure, just the wildness of it, the ninth inning, and I'm not gonna relive it for you just because I know you're feeling it, and you guys are making a good run here. It's not the Yankees and the Red Sox anymore. It's the Orioles and the Blue Jays, and then the Yankees and the Red Sox. The Yankees haven't done much this year. So, and listen, the Mets haven't either. Nobody has. That's the problem with the baseball offseason. It's slow. It's a slow burn. It is what it is. But I'm going to get going, fellas. I'm going to go to, ladies and gentlemen, I should say. I'm going to go to bed. I got Disney on Ice tomorrow at the UBS Arena. So I got to be well rested because my daughter's been looking forward to this for months and months and months. So I'm going to get going. Thanks everybody for joining me. Hey, listen, take it easy on me and these Mets groups. I'm a Mets fan. I love the Mets. I just try to put my two cents in about it. But hey, have a good night, everybody. Don't forget, check out our podcast. We do all New York sports with a number 6 rated New York sports show number 6 rated sports show in New York City. I'm Bob Walters. Brett Grasso, who you saw on here earlier, he's my co-host. We have shows. We do Sundays, football pre-games. We do everything. We have good guests. We got Bob Usler coming up in about 2 weeks. And, if you're a sports fan, you like it. We try to be funny. We try to be, entertaining. Our website is lockedupsports.net, lockedupsports.net. If you check us out, leave us a review anywhere you get your podcasts, on YouTube, on TikTok, all social media. Good discussion, everybody. Good show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you. I'll see you on Facebook, and I'll see you in the in the comments and check us out and let us know what you think. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, I'm Bob Walters. See ya.